Very nice of you. Thank you. Wow. So, first of all, this is a smaller stool than that one. But, no, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm used to sitting in kids' desks and stuff. So, I guess it's hard for me to tell the story of what Grind to Hunger is without bringing forward a little bit of my history. So, I grew up in Salinas. I don't know if very many people know where that's at, but it's not exactly the best place to grow up. It's been written about. It's the heroin central of California. It's where the two gangs come together. And being a white kid in that area wasn't exactly the easiest piece of the business, especially growing up in the East Side. So I was very much in touch with class disparity and poverty, and a lot of my friends went hungry. And albeit I look young, I've grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and there wasn't really food banks back then. There really wasn't any support. I mean, you got government cheese. I mean, I remember getting that stuff, but it wasn't like, there wasn't a support factor. And then somewhere right around 13, 14, I found surfing, and everything else went out the window. And second I graduated, I tell people my cap didn't even hit the ground, and I was already driving to Santa Cruz and to live in my car and surf because that's all I wanted to do. And then I kind of tripped into owning a surf shop. Somewhere in my mid-20s after having a child, I inherited Santa Cruz Surf Shop. And, that was like the dream come true, right? Like, who wouldn't want to do exactly what they like every single day? And as I had success with that, I think I distanced myself from that class disparity, and I distanced myself from that poverty. And I didn't, once you get out of that zone, you're like, I'm not really wanting to go back there. And, I was extremely successful. I had bought some domains, skateboards.com, surfboards.com, was running e-commerce sites, I was streaming media, I was getting covers of newspapers and tons of articles on my business accolades. But for when I look back, I think, gosh, how unhappy I was at that particular moment in time. And then, the food bank, I had friends that worked at the food bank, and we were always really giving. It's like someone came in and wanted a T-shirt for a school auction or whatever, we would more than comply and give out product. But we just hadn't found. I just hadn't found a place where I could get involved, and wasn't just about stroking a check for me. And this really nice lady came in that I had known for a while, and she said, "Hey, do you mind putting a barrel in your store for food collection?" And at the time, I didn't really understand. To me, as most people, I don't know how many people have actually worked with food banks or gone to food banks or given out food to people. There's this, kind of classification of this homeless guy, kind of crunched over, pushing a shopping cart, the stigma, I'd like to say, of what we think people are that need help. And when she put in there, I was like, sure, whatever, I didn't have any qualms either way, but at the same time, I didn't understand what was really going on. And then, she put this barrel in on the way out. She says, oh yeah, by the way, 1 in 8 kids are going hungry. And, having come from Salinas, I can get that. But living in Santa Cruz, I was a little confused. Because to me, Santa Cruz was paradise. To me, Santa Cruz was everything that Salinas wasn't. And to me, it was like I had found my utopia. I had found where I wanted to be. I was in my community. I had my friends. Like, things were good. But I was like, we grow like 80% of the world's produce right here in our backyard. And like, we have trees and all these great things. Like, how can we 1 in 8 kids? What? So that year, I started to, in hindsight, I started to have a change take place. And I didn't realize that change at first. It was very slight. And that slight change, because I'm a challenged person. She talked about personalities earlier. That was me. They must have hunted me down for months after I agreed to do this. And I don't ever touch the ground. So I'm like them going to Hope Services. I had forgotten that they were coming. I had forgotten that I was going to Hope Services. So they showed up. I got a text, you're going to be at Hope Services. I'm like, hey, Darius and Linda, you guys are cool going to Hope Services? Because that's where I'm going right now. And then we just walked up the street and went in there. And that's kind of how my life is. It's kind of just one thing right after another, because I just stay open all the time. Like, I'm just constantly, being in surf my whole life and doing exactly what I love to do and around the exact people I wanted to be around. There really wasn't any walls for me that I had built up. And so, that year that the barrel and the 1 in 8 kids, and I was like, that's ridiculous. I could fix this. I built a surf shop out of nothing. I did, no problem. I got this kid hunger thing. We can do this. We'll call it Grind of Hunger. That's what we're going to do. So then the next year, still no food in the barrel. And I was like giving away product. I was like, bring in a can of food, I'll give you a t-shirt, you know? They just weren't getting it. And then I started realizing something, that these 8 to 12-year-old kids that were coming into my store, they could barely remember to take their homework to school and, you know, brush their teeth and whatever. They weren't going to remember to bring a can. And then I started thinking, you know, we really stick together, you know, skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding, action sports, music, those are choices, you know, and some words that were said earlier, circumstance versus choice. And I want you to think about those words as I'm talking to you today, because that really is my message, is circumstance and choice. So I was like, well, these kids are choosing to skate, they're choosing to surf, they're choosing to play music, but, you know, maybe they don't have enough food or whatever, but if I can't get them to bring me food to my store, I'm going to go into the schools. And I did that without the clearance of the food bank or the school systems. I would just, you know, I had friends. I was like, hey, you want me to come talk to your class? Like, sure. So I would just, you know, I'd arrange it with the teacher. I'd do some logistics. But, you know, then the food bank's like, what are you doing? You know, you're going out there and you're just barging into schools. Can we give you some facts? And I'm like, the kids don't care about facts. They want to be part of a solution. They want to be part of, you know, helping, and they just want to be given choices. And so that year, 2004, I started going into schools, and I started talking to kids, and I started doing not interactive assemblies, but assemblies where I'd stand up a chunk of them, and I'd be like, hey, you guys know anybody over there? And they're all laughing, and you know, they all have their signs, like, to be quiet. And I'm like, you know, do you know them? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, they're going hungry, and the whole class would shut down. Because they were like, what do you mean they're going hungry? That's my friend over there. Like, I can't see how they would be going hungry. And I would just tell them, like, look, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to ask you to help. I'm here to give you a choice. How many of you get up when you want to? How many of you go to bed when you want to? How many of you eat what you want for dinner? How many, you know? And then they start thinking, like, holy crap, I don't have any choices in my life. And Grind of Hunger became a choice for them. And that choice was to help. That choice was to fix the problems that the last 40 years with the presidents can't or haven't been able to. They get up there and posture, and they say, oh, this hunger thing's abominable, and we need to stop it, and it's embarrassing, and yet every year it grows by 5, 10, 15 million people. And my weakness is kids, because kids aren't chosen to be born into these households that are struggling to make ends meet. It's their circumstance. And who's looking out for them? You know? Who is? The system's not. Welfare system's not. Food banks aren't. You know? And I started thinking, like, everywhere I looked is like, fail, 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 fail. And I'm like, okay, the kids haven't been given a chance. Why don't we give them a chance to do something? Why don't we give them a chance to make change? And, you know, going into those schools, at first it was like 5 or 6, then it became 10, then it became 20. Then the principals were like, hey, we heard you do talks. Can you come in and talk to our kids about, you know, the food drive or the STAR test, or, you know? And I'm not the most couth person when I go talk to kids, you know? I'm like, how many like STAR tests? None of them raise their hands. I go, yeah, neither do I, you know? But, you know, I don't like my PG&E bill, but I still have to pay it. I can't draw Mickey Mouse faces all over it. You should probably just take this test, because if you want to go to college, this test is really important, and just take the stupid test and be done with it. Don't opt out. Don't have your parents write a note. Just take the test, because life's full of these things, and you're not always going to be able to opt out. You can't write PG&E a letter saying, hey, not really feeling your PG&E bill this month, so I'm going to opt out of that one. And, you know, and so we ill-prepare these children, you know, because parents are, somewhere along the line, we've lost that parenting structure of being parents versus friends. And like, yeah, no, I got you. I'm going to let you out of this. And to me, that just doesn't resonate well. And so, you know, going back to talking to them about food and schools and, you know, whatnot, they were really receptive. It was amazing, you know. And I could challenge them. I could be like, hey, how many students here? 600. And I'm like, you know, you guys raised 300 pounds. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, no, that sucked. You know, like, that's less than a half a pound per person. Like, you throw away more food than that every day. Can you just do something more? And I would take these kids from doing 200 meals to 2,000 meals to 9,000 meals to 15,000 meals. And their teachers are like, I don't get it. Like, and then I do math with them. And then I say, hey, any of these kids say they can't do math. They're doing math right now. So don't let them lie to you, you know? And so it's like this weird, like, combination of me like being devil's advocate and get them open and motivated and paying attention, and then kind of mental thumbtacks along the way, and and then I guess to kind of bring it up to speed is like 2008 hit, and I was in action sports retail, Salinas kid, didn't go to school, 22 years, action sports, selling stuff, and the world stopped on a dime. And the entire income went away. So go from 20 grand a month to zero, literally overnight. And, that wasn't that bad. I mean, you lose some stuff and, you sell some stuff, and not stuff you want to sell, but, it's like, I think there's a saying, like, you hold on to things that you want, and then later on you sell the things you need. But at that point I was like, this is the signs for me to try to do something different. And I'd been doing Grind Out Hunger, and it'd been a holiday food drive thing, and I'd done it with the food bank, and I'd been writing the checks, and I'd been funding it, and everything was great. And then it went to 1 in 4 kids were going hungry. And I think at that moment I was just like, what the fuck is going on with this world? Why can't we figure this out? How do we think that we're going to fix these problems over here, but over here we're not making any investment in these kids, and we're not doing anything for them, and we're just going, hey, if you just get education and you get a house and a job and a car and a wife, and things are going to be great, and then you're going to have a midlife crisis because you don't know what you want to do and you're not happy, and and I was just like, 1 in 4 kids, and I was literally going 1, 2, 3, hey, are you going hungry? It's like, yeah, I don't eat on the weekends, and I don't do this, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like, you just don't know who it's going to hit. It's not, there is no race equality to it. There is no income equality. I mean, I've met people that have gone from fully fledged families to the dad dies, no health insurance, mom doesn't have a job, 2 kids, bam, they're in the food bank line, and that's a whole nother problem we have with how we give food out to people. But, I realized at that point, like, my life needed to change, and what I do needs to change, and how I do needs to change, and income doesn't really matter anymore, and that was a bit of a shock to my wife, but, I was like, look, I got to be happy, because ultimately I'm going to die, and at the end of the day, like, none of it's going to go with me. It's going to go back in the box, as I heard last night, and, the Monopoly game's over at that point, and I realized at that point, like, okay, I'm going to go to the food bank, and I'm going to like tell you how I can change things for you. And that's the way I am. Unfortunately, I was telling Linda that earlier in one of our discussions, I got to be careful what I manifest, because it usually comes true. And so I'm such a strong personality and individual that if I say I'm doing that, like oftentimes, and I'll get into that after I show a couple videos, I say I'm going to do that, and everyone's like, yeah, you're completely crazy. You're not doing that. I'm like, no, it's going to happen, and this is how it's going to happen, and this is where it's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen afterwards. And, I went to them and I said, you've been running a very fine food bank for the last 30 years, but I think I can help you do better. And I think I can help you do better through social media. I think I can help you do better through telling your story, because I'd been doing that with Grind Out Hunger. I was a one-man band, and I was literally pulling down, article after article, and, I was being interviewed from across the United States and internationally, just from writing my blogs and Facebooking and tweeting, and everyone's like, man, you have such an amazing organization. Who does that for you? And I was like, me. And then they're like, well, gosh, who does all this blogging? And I'm like, that's me too. And like, who does that? Well, that's me. I go out and do that. I had friends that supported me and went with me. I have great artists. Jimbo Phillips, one of the world-renowned skateboard artists, draws all my decks for me, drew our logo. Now I have a full-fledged crew of people, because I can't do it by myself. But, at the time, I was just like, I think I can make a difference. So I started on at the food bank, and I did 4 years with them as their chief development and technology officer, and raising, bringing them from 2 point whatever million to 4 point whatever million. But then I was like, so I did that for 4 years, and I was like, wow, nothing, the needle didn't move. Like, the needle just didn't move. And that's when I realized that Grind Out Hunger needed to be more than a holiday food drive component. And it needed to be more than, raising food and, and feeding people. I was just like, this reparative model is just not working. And if you look around our society, we employ millions and millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of volunteer hours into these reparative models to only fail, to only see increase continue to happen, and not increase that's statistically related to population growth, but it's exponentially related to population growth. Why? Why? And I listen to these talks, and I've done a million of them, and it's always, to me, comes back to kids. It always, to me, comes back to feeding them and educating them. Because if you feed them and you educate them, they will have confidence. They have confidence, they will become good people. They become good people, they have a job in the community. You teach them how to be happy and to have purpose and to do things with passion, you will have a thriving community. And that's something that we are failing to see. You know, I call city council people in the meetings, I call county supervisors in the meetings, and I say, hey, when you write your policy, do you put a sunset on that policy? Because the policy you write lives on for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Like, we just keep layering, you know, I hear people, we have a homeless census that just happened in Santa Cruz County. It's up 30%, you know. I know it's up more than that because I know the inner workings. I've given food to people. I know what's really going on. But I also know that people don't want to tell the real story because people can't handle the truth. People don't want to make it their problem. And this is why we have the hunger issue. And this is why kids are so important for me to talk to them, because in the 8 to 14 range, their minds are wide open. They're receptive, they're altruistic, they believe, they have faith, and you can employ in them a sense of ownership around these problems. And whether it's feeding people, helping people with cancer, working with the elderly, I mean, I've had numerous kids jump off and start other nonprofits, you know. The fact of the matter is that it comes to investing in our youth. And a lot of people talk about it, a lot of people say they're going to, a lot of people will posture that they have. And I ask them, how much of that are you doing on your own, and how much of that are you funding on your own? I don't get paid by Grind to Hunger, never have. If I have to go to work for Grind to Hunger and make it my career, I'm extremely pissed, because that means that I couldn't solve this problem on my own time. I have a full-time gig, and every time I take a full-time gig anywhere, I tell them my first priority is Grind to Hunger. If that's a problem with you, I don't have to work for you, you know? And I literally run my life that way. And people are always asking me, like, how are you doing everything you're doing? It's because that's what I manifest, and that's what I want to do. Because I don't want to see kids suffer. And it's not even the kids right now. You know, we talk about being in the right now. You know, our founding fathers did something for us 200 plus years ago that we're still reaping the rewards of, and they did it at the risk of death. I ask you, how many things do you do in your life that risks your life? Period. The things I talk about and the things I tell people and the things I call out on people, I'm borderline risking my life. I have other friends. I have a friend, Kyle Tierman, who goes out into countries and like calls them out for building coal plants on the shore of the ocean. I'm like, dude, you're going to get killed. Someone's going to kill you. Because that's how society is. We don't want to make change. Because if you're comfortable and it's not affecting you, then it's not your problem. Well, so what I do is I go in and I talk to kids and I tell them, hey, you know what? This is your problem. This isn't somebody else's. It's not going to go away, you know. And so what I want to do is I want to show you a video, a couple videos actually, if I have time. It depends on when Darius makes me stop. Command tab. Oof. All right. So here we go. This is I don't know if you can see when this was put out, but this was put out almost a year ago, and we've had Grind to Hunger for about a year. These kids are why I do that. See if it starts playing. So these kids did this all by themselves, 100%.
Everybody sees the light that we tryna bring. Grind down hunger, yeah, that's my team. That's my team. That's my team. Hey, donate some. You already know. Grind down hunger #1. Read the wrist. Feed them kids. Let me hit you with one more. Imagine everybody full. You know, the belly's kind of full. It's kind of funny how no one likes to donate money, help out people in their community. Yeah, that's right, we gotta make a community come together as one. Just like Grind Out Hunger, we number one. And we donated everything we got, put it in, cause we blow it up a lot. Yeah, it's 10 flow, all up on the spot, rocking the spot from the Santa Cruz skate shop. Yeah, blow it up, man. Grind Out Hunger, true to the heart.
Those kids.
Beat 'em.
Feed that kid.
So anyways, these guys, you know, so there's a little story behind it. James Durbin is one of our hunger fighters, and what we do is we employ kids. They did all this editing by themselves, so I'm going to show you a video now with James that happened, and you know, these kids saw James come in, he shot his video, and they're like, what? We got this, we could do this. They shot all that on a cell phone. They took it and said, hey, can we use your laptop? So we turned the laptop around and gave it to him. And that was at a time when I still had Santa Cruz Skate Shop. And I was extremely conflicted. I was like, I'm selling T-shirts to make money. Kids are going hungry. That doesn't seem right, you know? So, like, we're going to change it. And I asked these kids, like, what do you want? What do you want out of life? Like, what if I could do whatever you want right now, what do you want? They said, we want an indoor skate park. We can hang out, and we could bring food, and we could feed people, and we could hang out and have community. But all those kids right there go hungry. Every one of them is a participant of the food bank, you know, at one point or another. They're all low-income kids, and they all come hang out because they have nowhere else to go. And so when they told me, like, hey, I want to build this skate park, I was like, okay. No one's ever built an indoor skate park in a commercial corridor on 41st in Santa Cruz County ever. If you've ever tried to build anything in Santa Cruz County, you have to pave multiple roads before you do that. It's just how it works. And you know, and I went to my council people and I went to the county supervisors and said, this is what I want to do, and this is really important, and they helped me get through that. And so this video that I'm going to show you now is James Durbin's video of when he came on board. So,
Empower. The amazing thing about empowering the youth in our community is that they want to help. Kids don't want to know that their friends are going hungry, but when they do know, they want to do everything they can to help their friends. We are that help, and we're here right now, and we have the tools to shape our community into one that we can all be proud of. One person may not be able to change the world, but one community can, through skate, surf, snow, music, art, and love. And together, as one, we can fight hunger, and one day, grind it out. I'm James Durbin, and I'm a hunger fighter. And you can be too.
So the kids saw that, and they're like, yeah, James Durbin's American Idol guy, whatever, we got this, we can do it, right? And so that video right there is a video vignette that we've streamed during the Santa Cruz Warriors games. So when the Santa Cruz Warriors were coming to town, I was like, I'm going to be the charity of choice for the Santa Cruz Warriors. And everyone was like, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, we are. And we're going to build an indoor skate park. And we're going to feed kids. And we're going to tell people that this is ridiculous and it needs to stop. Because that was the movement that I believed in. And that was what I believed in the youth. I believed that the youth could move mountains if they were given the opportunity to, if we just believe in them. We oftentimes have children and say they should be seen and not heard, and I think it's the total opposite. I think kids need to speak up more, and I think they need to be in charge of things. In fact, I would love to see a youth Congress take place and a youth president take place. I guarantee you we would not be bombing people, and I guarantee you we would be feeding people, and I can guarantee you there would be way more soccer fields, basketball courts, and skate parks across the United States than there would be bombs and military locations and everything else. So I only have a few more videos I want to show you, and then I'm going to wrap it up with a couple things. So then what happened is we started creating this movement that started getting the attention of Disney and Sodexo and other charities. And I know I'm probably going way long, but you guys need to know this stuff, so it's important. So this was a youth service day that we did. And again, this was all filmed and done by a 19-year-old kid, and hopefully it plays. And Disney funded it. And this was right before we made our switch to what's going on here? Before we made our switch to YouTube. Let me see if I can reset it. Sorry, Darius, I know. If this one doesn't play, I'll play another one. So anyways, we got this grant to hold a youth service day. And this was like literally 2 weeks before we were closing our store. And 2 weeks before we closed our store, I had $100,000 lined up to build this indoor skate park. That $100,000 evaporated that week. And so I'll let you watch this.
My name is Zanky. Today we're having a youth day with Disney at Santa Cruz Skate and Surf Shop.
The purpose of today is to raise awareness for hunger in Santa Cruz County. 1 out of 4 kids goes hungry every day, and that's not cool. So we're trying to stop that and raise awareness and make it stop.
Only 17, you've got the world at your fingertips. You think you've buried the body.
That's Tess Dunn, by the way. She's a 17-year-old musician that has done 4 Warped Tours. She's got cystic fibrosis, epilepsy, and diabetes. She's probably going to not be here very long, but she's also one of our hunger fighters and extremely dedicated. This video has given us a little bit of problems, so I'm going to move on from it. But the point I'm trying to make is that, like Linda had stated, is like, literally from being in the town for 20 years, literally from being ingrained in the surf community, I know a lot of people. And I have no problem calling them out and making them make a choice. Just make a choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to help do this, or do you want to watch what happens? If you choose to watch what happens, I'm not going to judge you. That's cool. Just don't complain about it. Just make sure you accept it, because that's what's really going to have to happen. So I'm going to play one more video because I'm probably running out of time. And it's what's actually become. This is the most recent, and I hope to God this video plays, but this is the most recent thing. So here we are a year and a half later almost, right? We embarked on this episode. Tev, Loke, and Logie, and all these other dudes did this video, and they're like, dude, can you make this happen for us, Can you believe in us? So we did, and hopefully it works, but this is the most recent skate contest we just had. Kids are still altruistic, they're still very innocent, they're still very community minded. And if you go to them and you tell them that 1 in 4 kids is going hungry, we see these kids stepping up in a fashion that adults have trouble being able to do.
Be here, have fun, have a safe place to hang out, and be spreading the word on something that's really important for kids to know about in our county.
Every year I have the opportunity to award some district grants, and I was just looking for an opportunity for Macy's to be able to get involved and partner with such a great organization.
And that district grant provided us the opportunity to do a skate contest today. That skate contest entry fee was a can of food, and it was just an overall great day. We probably had a couple dozen kids come through, raise a couple 100 pounds of food, and at the end of the day, we fed some people, we taught some people, and we had a good time doing it.
Hey, my name is Trey. Right now there's this skateboarding contest here.
Local kids sign up and get to ride and compete against each other in friendly competition.
He's the one that taught me, and now I'm about as good as him. And a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit better.
It's a great thing here for the community, for the kids.
I brought my daughters with me. They were excited to see what it was like.
There's a gap, big walls, fun for vert.
What do you like about here?
Just skate.
To skate.
We're really grateful for all of our partners and everybody that believes in what we're doing, and overall it's the investment in our youth. So, I'll be brief. I know I got to get moving. What started out as a barrel in my store turned into, 700 kids being signed up to skate. 2 million meals to date have been raised by the youth of Santa Cruz County. We're instituting them healthy eating, active lifestyle. Action sports is extremely athletic, but we don't always eat so well. We're being branded Monster and Red Bull and all these crazy crap foods that really don't do anything but build disease. And so it's really hard as an organization that exists in action sports to not have a marriage with those kinds of entities, because they're willing to write checks. They want to be in front of these kids' eyes. They want to be marketed to. And so what I do is I do the opposite. I go partner with the ag industry. I go partner with New Leaf and Whole Foods and different organizations that can provide healthy eating, active lifestyle components. And we talk about preventative. And I just want to leave you with that, preventative. If we could please just understand that if we invest in our youth, that they will make the change happen that's necessary. I have some bands I'm going to pass around after my speech right now, and if you have any other questions, go to grinddownhunger.org or just come up and ask me. I'm glad to talk to you guys about it. Thank you for letting me run over.